Hello chess lovers, Suren here, and I have a very interesting game for you played between Elmar Magerramov and Garry Kasparov. This game was played in 1977 in Baku during a training match. Now let's see what happened on the board. Magerramov started the game with knight f3 and knight f6 by Kasparov, d4, e6, c4, d5. We see the queen's gambit declined, bishop e7, bishop g5, and we have this super solid Tartakower Magerramov Bondarevsky system. Black castled kingside e3, h6, bishop h4, b6. Intuitively sensing the dynamics of positions that may arise in this system developed by Grandmaster Igor Bondarevsky and International Master Vladimir Magerramov, Kasparov has repeatedly adopted in his tournament and match games. I am glad that Garry has appreciated this system, once said the veteran of Soviet chess Magerramov. Queen b3 was played, bishop b7, bishop takes f6, bishop takes f6, and pawn takes d5, pawn takes d5, rook d1, and a strong move by Kasparov c5. The thing is that after d takes c5, Kasparov can't recapture because his bishop is hanging, and actually by going for c5 he's sacrificing a pawn. This pawn sacrifice is both reckless and risky, but on the other hand, let's not forget that this was a training game. That's why Kasparov was free to test his ideas. The usual line instead of c5 is c6, but in the game we see c5, d takes c5, knight d7, and c6. Well, if I move like c takes b6, then in this case, actually black is managing to get a counterplay, and actually black has a compensation for the sacrificed pawn. Black can even win back that lost pawn by capturing on a2. No problem at all for black. Let's go back, but in our main game after knight d7, c6 was played, bishop takes c6, and knight d4. A strange decision by Magerramov. It would have been logical after c6 to go for knight takes d5. If knight c5, then knight takes f6, and then queen c3, and after the exchange of queens in the end of the day, the players actually have equal chances, though white has an extra pawn, but looks like that black can manage to win back the lost pawn, and all in all the position is equal. Let's go back, but in the game after bishop takes c6 we see knight d4. Now comes bishop takes d4, rook takes d4, and knight c5. Kasparov is now attacking the queen on b3, and once the queen retreats back on d1 square, this time the knight goes on e6 square in order to kick away the rook from this active d4 square. Rook d2 was played, and here we go d4. The idea of sacrificing a pawn is that still white king is stuck in the center of the board, and black wants to rip open the center of the board and target white king as soon as possible. Actually, this pawn sacrifice drastically changes the game character. It takes d4, rook e8, and now if we have a look at the position, white can't even develop his bishop because there is always this bishop takes g2 threat. That's why Magerramov first played f3 in order to block the light squared bishop's diagonal, and only then to develop the bishop and castle kingside. But actually this steps into a venomous sacrifice, and without blinking his eye, Garry Kasparov went for bishop takes f3 sacrifice. Look at this majestic move. G takes f3 was played. Well, if queen takes f3, then simply knight g5 discovered, check, and white is losing his queen. That's why after bishop takes f3, g takes f3 was played, but now the queen jumps on h4 square using the vulnerability of white's king side, and this is actually very unpleasant for white. Rook f2 was played. Now comes knight takes d4, discover, check, bishop e2, knight takes f3, check. Look at this position, guys. What's going on the board? King f1, queen h3 check, rook g2, knight h4, white is intensifying the pressure on g2, rook g1, and now the second rook is also joining the attack. When you're attacking, all your pieces should join the party, and this is what Kasparov does. Queen e1, this actually steps into another deadly pin. Instead of playing Queen e1, Queen a4 could have been better, though black can go for this Knight f5 move. If Queen f4, then Rook d4 simply. If Queen f3, then Knight e3 check, and again this is going to be winning for black. And then Queen f6 check, and then Rook d2 check, and then after Rook takes g2, black can give a discovered check and win white queen. Let's go back in the game after Rook d8, Queen e1 was played, and Rook d3. Look at this. Black is simply dominating the position, and with this beautiful maneuver, the Rook is joining the attack with all might. Queen f2. Now comes Knight f3 and Rook h1. Actually, if you have noticed, the Rook on d3 was hanging, but it turns out that the Rook is untouchable, because if Bishop takes d3, then Knight takes h2, and this is a checkmate. Or after Knight f3, if a move like Knight d5 trying to cover the e3 square, then again Rook d1 check, and after luring away the bishop, Knight takes h2 checkmate. Or after Knight f3, if a move like Queen g3, then this time black can give a check from d2 square, and then Rook takes g3, and then Knight f3 check, and then Knight takes g1. Black Knight is simply picking up all the rooks, and it's over. Black is winning. Let's go back in the game after Knight f3, Rook h1 was played. Actually, as you can see, white pieces are like tied up, and all white can do is to make waiting moves. Now comes Rook e3, Rook g1, another waiting move, and this time King h8. This is fantastic, guys. Kasparov is just cold-heartedly making a prophylactic move. He's moving away his king from this dangerous g file and is preventing any possible Rook takes g7 moves. But actually, instead of King h8, Rook takes c3 is winning on the spot. If b takes c3, then Knight takes h2 check, and then Queen takes c3 check, and then Rook d8, it's over. But Kasparov missed his chance and played King h8. Now comes Rook h1, and believe it or not, but after b5 finally Magerramov resigned. The thing is that now if a move like a3, then black can go for a5. If Rook g1, again, let's not consider this Rook takes c3, let's just follow Kasparov's idea. Then black can go for b4. If a takes b4, then after a takes b4, the knight is hanging. If you move away your knight, then simply Rook takes e2, and then after the exchange on e2, black can capture on g1, and then Queen takes h2. This is over, guys. This is an easy win for black. That's why, understanding all that, after b5 Elmar Magerramov resigned. A very impressive game, I think, by Garry Kasparov. It's a pity that during the game he missed that Rook takes c3 move, but all in all the game was brilliant, and as for me, I enjoyed this game greatly. Thanks for watching. Here are more suggestions for you for more games. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I will see you in the next video. Good luck.